Welcome to the Catholic Journey with Deacon Pat Kearns, where we walk together towards truth, hope, and transforming power of Christ. Tonight we enter the most sacred night of the entire church year. Not Christmas, not even Easter morning, but the Easter Vigil. A night unlike any other. A night that has been lived, prayed, and guarded for nearly 2,000 years. Tonight, we do not just remember, we enter the mystery. Imagine the early Christians gathered in darkness, not comfortably but cautiously, sometimes in homes, sometimes in catacombs, sometimes knowing that discovery could cost them everything. And yet they came. Why? Because this night mattered. They didn't rush to Easter. They waited. They kept vigil. They stayed awake through the night, praying, listening, and longing, because they believed something with their whole lives, that no one mattered how dark the world became, light would come. And maybe where this begins for us too, because we know darkness, not just out there, but in here. Outside the church, a fire is lit, not just for light, but as a sign, a declaration, that even in a world that feels dark, God's presence cannot be extinguished. From that fire, the paschal candle is lit, marked with a cross, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, because Christ is not just a part of history, he holds all of it. And then the priest proclaims, "The light of Christ," and we respond, "Thanks be to God," not out of routine, but because something real is happening. The light enters the darkness. One candle becomes many. The flame is passed, person to person, row to row, until the entire church begins to glow. Not with overwhelming brightness, but with something gentler, more human, more personal. This is how Christ works, not all at once, but heart by heart, life by life, and suddenly the darkness doesn't feel so powerful anymore. Then comes one of the most ancient hymns of the church, the Exultant, chanted for centuries, echoing through time, a song that dares to say something shocking. O happy fault, O necessary sin of Adam. What kind of church says that? Only one that understands grace, because only on this night do we dare look at sin and say, even this has been overcome, that God is so powerful, so merciful, that he can take even our worst moments and bring redemption from them. That means your story isn't wasted, nothing is. Then we listen, not just one reading, but many. Creation, Abraham, the Red Sea, the prophets. It's long, and it's meant to be. Because this is not just scripture. This is the story of salvation. And in the early church, those preparing for baptism listened to all of it. Because before stepping into new life, they had to understand the story they were entering. And here's the truth. This isn't just their story. It's yours. A story of being created, falling, wandering, and being pursued by a God who never gave up on them, never gave up on you. And then we come to the waters. In the early church, this was everything. After years of preparation, the catechumens would step forward. They would renounce sin, turn toward Christ, and be plunged into water, not lightly, not symbolically, but completely. Because baptism is not a ritual, it is a death and a resurrection. As St. Paul tells us, we are buried with Christ, so that we may rise with him. This is why this night was called the Great Night, because this is the night lives begin again. And then, after all the waiting, all the silence, all the longing, everything changes. The lights come on, the bells ring, the church erupts, and we sing Gloria. for the first time since Lent began, because Christ is risen, not as an idea, not as a symbol, but in reality. Death has become defeated. Sin has lost its grip, and hope is alive. And here's what we can't miss. This isn't just something that happened. This is something happening right now. Every Easter Vigil, the same fire, the same light, the same victory, and the same invitation. Because somewhere in your life, there is still darkness, something heavy, something hidden, something unresolved. And Christ is not standing outside of it. He enters it, just like he entered the tomb, and he brings light. So tonight, don't just observe the vigil, enter it. Let the darkness speak to your own. Let the fire reach whatever feels cold. Let the water remind you of who you are, because this is not just the night Jesus rose. It is the night he calls you to rise. From darkness to light, from death to life, he is risen. Thank you for joining me on the Catholic Journey with Deacon Pat. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs hope tonight, because sometimes one small light can change everything. Happy Easter. God bless.